this huge situation right now that is sort of brewed from since last week is with Sha'carri Richardson, who is a Team USA sprinter. So when she first came out, it was her victories at the triathlons when they were trying out to go to the Olympics. And at that time, they had dubbed her America's fastest woman. So this is our first introduction to Sha'carri Richardson. I myself have never heard her because I don't really follow a lot of athletes, but then I started looking into her and what she was about. There was a lot of high hopes for her to be a part of Team USA on the way to Japan. And so she tested positive for what the Olympic Committee considered a prohibited substance, which could disqualify her from the Tokyo Olympic Games. However, there's a revelation that has led people to compare Richardson's situation with that of Olympian Michael Phelps' weed ban. He was also a swimmer for the men's team, and he had a dust up with the weed situation, and he was suspended for like 3 months. Okay, 3 months. For Sha'carri, she could face, I don't know if they were still deliberating on it, but she faced a 1 month suspension for allegedly using the abusive substance. And, that could also kind of hamper her playing in the Olympics because, by the time that 1 month suspension, oh my God, this word, by the time that 1 month suspension is over, she would have missed a few games and would only make it for I think the 400 relay competition. So there's a whole lot of opportunities to compete she will be missing. So a lot of people were weighing in, a lot of former athletes, a lot of basketball athletes. This other basketballer, who I was surprised, he came out of the woodwork. He weighed in on this whole situation. They felt that, what, she did not use steroids. She did not use anything performance enhancing. And they feel that it's unfair that she's facing a 30-day suspension for testing positive for marijuana. And this report came out by the Jamaican Gleaner. Now, this is what I'm saying. When her answer to this whole situation was that, her mother had recently passed. As we know, when she first came out last week or the week before that, her mother had died a week before. And so it is a very recent thing. And then she goes and runs for these games and then wins her spot in the team. And she said, with her mother's recent death, it was so important that she find a way to cope. She didn't know how else. But this is my thing. Even if she did not use anything performance enhancing, but it is a drug that is considered illegal. And even if there's a lot of people that have medical cards that could use marijuana for their condition, she didn't mention whether she has a doctor's note that says, okay, for her anxiety, for her whatever, she can use this or whatever. She does know that when you are training for the Olympics, once you sign up for that life, there are drugs that are prohibited across the board. They don't care what is it for, your mama died and this, you need to cope. The rules states that no marijuana, and then they probably have a list of other prohibited drugs. So if that's showing up in your urine or anything like that, they're going to ban you for the number of days or months that they feel that they need to ban you. And if Michael Phelps got 3 months, for that, they gave her 30 days suspension, which is about a month. I mean, it's not as extensive as what Michael Phelps got. So you can't really, a lot of people are also using the fact that it was, a racial thing, but it isn't, because there are rules, and these are one of the drugs that they don't allow. Okay, so if you want to be in the Olympic arena and join as an athlete, you and your team and your coach all have to abide by their rules. It's not just about performance enhancing, but it is also about the specific drugs that they don't want. And one of them is marijuana. There's no way you can explain yourself away from that. Another thing I wanted to touch on is self-sabotage. I feel that this is something that there's no way you could be running for the Olympics and not know that this is illegal for them. And even if you are taking it to cold, like, they will test you randomly. Don't bank on the fact that it's a random check, but they just might not check me. You have to be ready and act like you will be tested at any given time. Get away from people who are maybe taking forbidden substances around you, so it doesn't slip into your food or you smell it or anything like that. I mean, where was her team? Where was her coach? But then again, her coach, he had been in kind of questionable with the doping thing too. Her coach, good Lord. But still, at this point, where was her team, her coach, her grandma, or anybody around her to say, well, you're going to the Olympics, and from this time until we come back home with these medals, this is the life that you have. You're going to have to find alternative ways of coping and get her on alternative coping methods. I just feel like the people around her let her down. And then again, there's also another possibility that she could be pretty stubborn. That's true. But then at this point, let's say, for example, her coach says, no, it doesn't matter for what you're taking it. You absolutely cannot take any marijuana. And let's say she get all stubborn and be like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And then he's like, well, I'll not be your coach. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to get to the Olympics. Okay? Because this is a set standard. And we have to find a different way to cope with these measures, or you don't go to the Olympics at all, or you're going to have to find someone who will co-sign you taking this thing and you testing positive. Like, there should have been like some type, I don't know. We'll see. Let me know in the comments if this is unavoidable, what she should have done. And if you had a traumatic event that is occurring around the time that you're training for big things like Olympics and stuff like that, what are the coping methods that she could have used? Because I know that marijuana is not the only coping method. Anyway, it's really sad to see that this is kind of making a whole ton of news. It was like grand opening, grand closing. It seems really sad because a lot of people put their hopes on her. A lot of people are rooting for her, and they're still rooting for her. You know, it's a mistake. It's not performance enhancing, but the rules are the rules. And then you also have to know, as a Black athlete, you know, there have been many times that they have been judged more harsh in terms of any mistakes that you made, you know, the fines that you had to pay. It's not easy. It is not easy trying to be Black, make mistakes, and still get grace. So that is something that people need to understand as well. Like, it's like we have to be uber the best. You know, we cannot, like, even if you're human, like, then they're just like, well, you did this and you did that, and then we just slap you with a suspension when we give you a fine, and, you know, they're not going to let her off. Like, they didn't let Michael Phelps go, so how are they going to let her go over that? And marijuana stays quite a bit in your system. It does. It takes a while to get out. Can't be listening to dudes on the street and Pookie on the street telling you, oh, if you drink this, it's going to wash out in 24 hours. You can't, because Pookie ain't going to the Olympics. Let me know in the comments what you think, and we'll see you on the next video.